Right, we've got Makita Multi-tool today, or oscillating tool, whichever way you want to call it. It's the DTM50. So, customer on this said that it just stopped working, doesn't do anything. These normally come off, so it's in quite good shape actually. It is a little bit rusted, but they do normally start snapping off. And just to confirm, it does nothing at all. Which is not good, is it? It's not what you want. So I'd say they're right, this does nothing. So what we're going to do, we're going to get it open and see what's going on. I'm testing this today, so I don't know if you've seen these before. I'm probably never going to use it again. But it's a little Ryobi screwdriver, a little 4-volt thing. Just see how it does on this. So there's a little hatch here on the front, so the few screws on there. You've then got to take the casing off that's around the head, if you like, and then on the base as well there's a couple of screws holding that on, but I'll show you that. I'm going to do this as near real time as possible actually, just so you can see the full process. I'm not going to cut much out, if anything, just so you can see everything. So if you want to do this, you can use it as a how-to guide or whatever you want to do, or you can look at this and laugh at it. Either way, happy with that. So get all these screws out. So there's a few in the top here. We should be good to go. So this isn't the fastest thing in the world, but it seems to be working so far. And as I say that, then I have trouble. There we go. Right, so we get all them out and out the way. So the base plate just sort of pulls apart like this, and then it's got two little bits of rubber in the middle sort of holding it together. I don't know if that's some sort of anti-vibration thing or what, but it's a little strange design. Don't lose this little pin either, so that's got a little bit of rubber in, and I'll show you that when I put it back together. So that's the base off. So just to get the head off here, it's fairly simple. They're all quite similar, the different brands. It seems to be two plates that go together. So take one side off and then the other, but always bear in mind there's this LED in there. So it's on a little wire strip. You don't want to rip that and pull it off too hard. It's normally wedged in one of the sides as well. So pull that out. And I just want to make sure actually, I can't remember if that was on at the beginning when I tested it. So just double checking here if the LED works, and it does. So that's a good sign. That means we're not totally dead. So next thing to do, a couple of ways to do it. You can either take this plate off if it's loose enough, you might as well do it now, or take the head off. See what you can do. So I'm probably going to leave that for now and come back. A little bit fiddly, some of those, but I'll take the head off. I think this is where this fails, so I'm going to have to go for a manual one. So it's good for some things, this, but not everything. So I think that's probably already told me as much as I need there. So get the manual out. Try and make some space. You end up with stuff everywhere as well when you do this sort of thing. That's why I've got one of these trays in front of me as well, where you should really put the different parts in those different bins. You can't mix them up. Quite simple to do. Right, so this has just got 4 screws, one in each corner. So we'll get these out and then we can pull this off. And what I like to do when I'm fault finding is work it out top to bottom, if you like. So is the head the problem here? These do sometimes seize up and you can see movement there, so I'm hoping this isn't the case. And that hopefully it's motored down. So I rule one out and then the other. So this does seem fine. It's dirty, probably needs a good re-greasing in there as well and a good brushing out, but it's still moving. So what I'm going to do is just confirm if this now works, it was the head. If it doesn't, then I know that the fault's further down. Kind of treat it in a modular type fashion. So still got the fault. So it wasn't the fact that that was seized up, it's going to be something motored down. So what I'll do while I've got this out is give it a good brush down, good clean out. At the end we'll see, but it's probably worth getting a bit of grease in here as well, a bit of new grease, but we'll check that out. So give all that a good clean out. Airline or a little, I've got like a little shop vac to the right there, you might be able to see, something like that, but the brush is perfectly fine as well. So let's put that onto the side. We know that's not the problem here. So it's going to be, as I say, motor down now. So we'll take this little housing off the front here. Little hatch, whatever you want to call it. Access door, God knows, all sorts of words you can use for these. So the problem is in here somewhere. So let's just start having a look through here. You can see the connectors here that go onto the motor. It is sometimes them, it is sometimes the motor, and it's sometimes the controller. So, you know, it could be anything here at this point. So we'll give this a brush out just to see if we can see any burning or anything like that. Any loose connections would be brilliant, easy fix. A snap in a wire, that'd be great at this point. So give it a brush out. Then what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect that motor. See what we can see. We'll test the motor then, and then, as I say, I do it in a modular fashion. So if the motor's fine, we then know it's something further down, a controller or even the power connector at the bottom. So let's figure out how we get this out. So see if you can get these connectors off the base of the motor. If you've got tiny little fingers, you might be able to get in there and just do that by hand. If not, you might need some pliers or something like that, if you've got weird fat fingers like me. But if you're going to get this out, you're going to have to take the top cover off anyway. So if you take that off, there's 2 screws in the top of that. And get them out the way. They are slightly different to all the others, so just bear in mind these ones are different and make sure you remember where they go. So you see I put them in a slightly different slot in that mat. And then just take that cap off, just a little plastic cover really. Then you can try and pull these connectors out. So I've gone for the plier method in the end. And then do a bit of an inspection of the base of the motor there, and then the connectors as well. You just want to be looking for any melting, any burning, any sort of widening of the connector as well. So if we look at the ends here, that red one doesn't look too bad, but this black one does actually look like it's been blackened and melted. So that's going to be an issue here. We're going to have to swap that out. Hopefully it hasn't burnt the motor, but we'll test the motor first. See if it spins is the first thing I usually do. Check the connectors at the bottom. On some of the other brands, the Milwaukee one, they tend to snap off, so just double check that the pins are still on the base of these. You can see there's a lot of stuff in the motor, which isn't great. You can't really get all that out because these are so enclosed. I mean, you could blow it out, but in theory you could just be blowing that further down into another part of the motor. So I tend to just get the big chunks out and then leave it. So we'll test if this works. So what I do, as you can see here, normally about 18 volts and generally 4.5-ish amps, and that generally gets these things working. I think you can actually go for anywhere from 4.5. Now if you haven't done this before, on the bottom they generally have some sort of indicator for the positive one. So you'll see a red dot, a red pen mark, something red, and that's where the red one goes. There's generally something on there. Now what I do is I just hold it down with a little bit of a plastic spudger here, and we're good. So the motor's working, which is brilliant. So now we can start going further down. So I saw those connectors were burnt, so next thing to do is going to be this black one. So we're going to snip that off and put a new sort of spade connector on there. Quite simple to do if you haven't done that before. I'm sure most of you have. There's probably other ways to do it as well, but for me those little spades are perfect. You could just solder this end on as well if you wanted to, but I find that those spades are quite tight enough to actually stick to it. They don't come away, which is good. So all you're going to need to do is grab one of these, which I've got here, you see, just to test it, show you that it sticks quite well. It's quite a tight fit there. And that's all you need really. As long as it's not wobbling around, it's not going to be arcing and sparking and causing more heat. So give these heads a little clean off, these little tabs. There's a little bit of the burn in there, you can see from the previous one. Just try and get all of that off. You want this really connecting to a nice clean surface. You can see there, hopefully, the bit of red on that one that I was talking about earlier. So that's how you hook them up, actually. You can always look for that indicator. So all I'm going to do on this black one, pop the end off it a little bit there, and we'll get it in that new spade connector. Nice crimp joint, that'll work perfectly fine for this. So there's many ways to do this. Say soldering's another one, but I prefer this one. So get it in there, make sure the metal bit of the wire obviously is touching the metal of that crimp at the end, and then you pop one of these on, give it a couple of really tight crimp downs. Colour coded as well, these things, so you know how far you go. I'm sure there's probably better crimps out there, people will tell me, but these, as I say, they work fine. So we'll get this on and then we'll see if we fixed it now or we need to go further down. So if it's something else, it's going to be the controller or something like that. We're at a good point here just to test this. So we've got the motor connected again. Make a bit of space. And that was the damage really from the other one. You can see it in the end there, a bit melted. So we'll pop this back on and we'll give it a go. So same as before really, I like to hold it down with something. You don't want it spinning round and snapping, and there we go, look, back to life. So it's now working on its own, it's not an external power supply or anything like that. That's back through the controller, through the battery, so that is really good to go now. So we'll start building this back up, but that was the fault here. I guess the why is still an issue really. How did it start to happen? That cable, how did it start to break down? May have been loose, you don't know really. It's one of those mysteries of the world. But as long as we've got this in and it's all firmly connected, the hope is that won't happen again. So make sure you get this the right way round, and on the motor there's a little screw there as well, a little hole that goes into the motor either side, so you just make sure you line those up just like that, and make sure this is over the top of the two there and get it the right way round. There we go, that looks right. So we're just going to do the reverse, pop these screws back in. And you'll probably notice, those of you eagle-eyed people, that LED cable is in the wrong place here when I screw it in. So I do come back to that at the end. We get the other one in, nearly there. So a bit of a longer video this, but I just want to show you the actual process. I don't want to miss anything out or jump past anything. Because if you're using this as a how-to guide, I don't want you getting upset that maybe I missed a bit out. Some of the 3-minute videos I do, there's all sorts missed out, and it's just because of the timelines. You can't get everything in those. That's why you see some of the mistakes I do here as well, like that LED one. So normally I'd just cut things like that out and it'd all look perfect, but not the real world. So here, just getting this one in is a little bit fiddly because I've had to chop that connector off. I've lost a centimetre or so of cable there. So you've got to sort your wiring husbandry out, get it in the right place, and then you've got to get your little fingers in here if you can and prod this right in the edge of that motor connector and then get it pushed all the way down. So a little bit fiddly, but it's really important you do this bit because this is why it broke in the first place. That connector somehow became loose and wobbled out and started heating up and burning. So this has just got to be really attentive and getting this on correctly. There we go. So push it all the way in if you can. Be careful if you're using a screwdriver or something like this. You don't want to damage it on the way in or snap it somehow. Just be really gentle. And then this one's a little bit easier because you've got a lot more cable to play with, but it was basically folded over the top there and then goes back in on that side. And it's got that little protector as well across the middle, like a metal cylinder. So that's kind of to keep the wires safe. There we go. I mean, in theory, you could take that out as we've redone it, but I've left it in there just to give a bit of protection there. There we go. So that's all back together. And you want to put this hatch back on and screw that down. So really simple. Nothing there was too complex. Hopefully everyone can do that sort of thing. It's just a cut of a cable and a crimp. Nothing too special at all. Not even any soldering. So this stuff is quite easy to do really when you think about it. So we'll get these 4 screws back on. Not a fan of this screwdriver. I thought I'd give it a go, but you know, it's just not that great. I normally use the Milwaukee installation driver. It's very, very different to this, but worth a go. I'm sure it's good for general screwing of stuff, but just not this sort of task. So all I want to do here is just check that nothing's come dislodged while I've put that back together, and we're good. So everything is still fine. And this is where I realise a second the LED's in the wrong place. There we go, look. So pull it back. It's just got to be around the other side of that little lip. So nothing too special, but really, really simple to miss that. And that's just so that you can then feed it through and it goes to the right area on top of the head. So get this screwed down. That is sped up a little bit, by the way. That's not my crazy hands. Just the 4 again in the top here. Try not to stab yourself. I think I've just took a chunk out my knuckle there. Alright, get these 4 down and then we're good. So if there's anything you want to see more of, let me know. I've tried to do a variety of things. Batteries seem to be really popular at the minute, but I'm trying to do less of those because they seem to be all over my feeds at the moment. Back to the tools, which is the main part of the business really. Batteries are good to do, but to be honest, they don't always last forever. And some of them, flex volts and things like that, they really, really low success rates on repairs. The Milwaukee ones are quite good. Some of the earlier DeWalt ones are quite good, and the Makitas, but some of these specialist ones, especially like the Milwaukee Forge, for example, they have lithium pouch technology in there and all sorts of stuff. So it's not quite as simple as changing cells anymore, or voltage increases and recoveries. It's not that simple on some of those. So I think I've showed you all most of those others. So tools is going to be the main bit, but if there's anything you want me to focus on, I've got all sorts in from different clients. So let me know in the comments or wherever, and I'll get some of those up. Got a lot of recip saws at the minute. I've got 18 ex-rental ones in as well, Milwaukee ones, but all sorts of things. So this base plate, I mentioned as I was taking it out, those 2 little rubber bits just pop in there, and then you've got this tiny little bit of rubber and a metal sort of bolt type thing. You've just got to get that in the right place. No idea what this does. I think it holds the battery secure or something like that. Let me know if you know what this does, but certainly it's if you miss it, it's obvious it's not there. Here we go, get that in. And this does move a bit as well, I've always noticed, but I guess that's for anti-vibration purposes, maybe not to damage the battery or make it fall out, but certainly you can always move that base plate, which I thought was odd, but very much a part of the design by the looks of it. So screw this back in, and then we've just got the top to go on, and then we're all good. So that's that. So it's almost looking normal again. The only thing missing is the screw in the centre there. So we'll get this LED round, back the way it should go, find the right bits for this. So it has got little metal guides really all the way around, and it goes into a plastic housing, so you can't really put this in too wrong, but if you do, you can certainly snap that cable. So if you catch it between the two and then screw it down, you can cut it annoyingly, so watch out for that. I don't think they sell those separately either. They're part of the controller, which is quite annoying. You could obviously repair it, but you can't buy a new one there on its own. So get that back on. We'll screw this down, and then that should be it, good to go. There we go, and then a couple more I think there in the middle. I'm going to go manual. I think I've given up totally on this thing. There we go, let's just make sure it's all screwed down, and then that should be it. Quick check. Okay, so just to confirm, we're all good. We're noisy as expected, and that does vibrate. So I know in a video previously someone said it doesn't look like it's vibrating, but it definitely is. Difficult to show really on here like that, but just to go through the different modes as well and everything, just to show you. You can hear it changing, but that's it. So let me know if there's anything else you want to see. Thank you.